Oh, blimey, that's bright. Okay. Okay, I've taken my Ray-Bans off. I've put my Costas back on. All right, if everyone's happy with that. I left them behind the other day, and so that's all I had. So that's all I had was my aviators. All right, so you have to deal with it. All right, so bloody great pile of rock. So this is fantastic news, because instead of having to buy it in, as I've done before, I found this seam of rock here now of granite. I don't know, I've shifted I don't know how many tons, probably 40, 50 ton there, which I'm going to start laying out this week on the trails here to winterize everything. So there'll be no more mud when we're moving cars and moving fish around during the winter, which is absolutely fantastic news, because there's nothing worse than just getting covered in shit all the time. So fish are all doing well. Parameter checks done again this morning. So, I had some great comments. Always up for people's comments on the channel. That's what it's about. It's as I just said on a comment, I ain't no snowflake. So, you think I'm acting and doing stuff wrong? Bloody tell me, okay? And I'll, I always have a reason for doing what I'm doing. I don't just do it for shits and giggles, especially with my livelihood. Thing that most people don't understand with fish farming is, these fish are sold by the weight of them, and they're in prices per weight category. So a small fish, 2 years old, very little risk in developing a 2-year-old fish. At the end of their second summer, we may have fish that are, £7 at the biggest, and average probably £5. Nobody wants to buy 5-pounders normally, because most people that are stocking lake, especially in France, you want fish that are £20 plus. So for a £20 plus fish, you're really looking for a 4-summer fish. Now, a lot longer, more feedings required, more risks required. But obviously, as they start to go up, the price scale is an exponential price scale, because there's greater risk for us keeping fish for longer. So, a £20 to £30 fish is normally the sweet spot for us to sell them, because they're normally in that sort of 4 to 5 year or 4 to 5 summer old fish by the time we've sold them that winter. You've had all of that feed that you've had to feed them through those years, so their price per kilo is a lot more expensive than a 2-year-old fish or a 3-year-old fish, because we've had to feed them and we had to keep them, and we need the water and we need the machinery and everything else that's going on. But as they get bigger and bigger, that scale gets higher and higher and higher. So as a fish farmer, we always want to keep hold of a few fish, because people want some bigger fish. Bigger fish are very expensive because the risk is greater. But when it comes to feeding, at this time of year, it's the optimal conversion for a fish. They're converting, they're eating up to 4% of their body mass per day. So my calculations in terms of feeding is I don't feed more than about 1.5% of the mass of the fish artificially with my pellet and with my maize, about 1.5%. So these fish are getting, 2.5% naturally from the environment. I don't overstock the lake, so there is natural food in the lake. My 8-acre lake here on the main lake is around 300 fish in it. Well, that's not super intensive by fish farming standards. It's not even super intensive by fishery standards, and those fish have got pressure on them. So I leave it at about 1.5%, because there's a risk-reward ratio you have to work out. If I feed them more than that, I could potentially get greater growth. But then, as you saw, you can get greater problems with your water quality. So it's getting that balance right. And at this time of year when the water is 26 degrees, these fish are converting... Oh, just got bitten by some bugger. These fish are converting what they're eating into growth maximally at this time of year. So, of course, for a fish farmer, this is when we want to feed them the most. We want to get them fed as best as we can and grow them as much as possible. Because all the fish that I have in the lake at the moment, I have about 120 of them, which is this year's harvest, already sold. They're already gone. And each of those fish, the people want them at a certain weight bracket. Well, it's pretty difficult to know, because it's not like a cow. You can't measure it, you can't see it, you can't shove it on the scales these fish are out in the lake. So the only way I can really entertain or ascertain exactly what weight my fish are for this coming winter season is to do a couple of little test fish. And I get an idea of potentially what their growth's been. Now, through the years, I know that if I feed around 3 tonne of pellet in that lake, I'm going to get a tonne of growth. So if I know if I know how many fish I've got in that lake and I know their starting average weight, and then I add the tonne to it, I can ascertain that, you know, if fish are in there and they're sort of 5 kilos to 6 kilos on average last year, and then I extrapolate that weight growth and that growth rate that I'm going to get from adding 3 tonne of pellet, I can say that those fish are going to be between 10 and 11 kilos. And that's what my estimate. It's worked perfectly in the last few years, and I get it, it's been about right. But you don't know. You could have a load of small fish come through and they're eating all your feed. I've got a bloody tench explosion. They could be eating my feed. So I'm desperate to make sure that these fish are fed. So backing off on the feeding and waiting for 2 or 3 weeks, I'm losing really potential growth. And it's getting the balance right, isn't it? So again, if I'm getting it wrong, please tell me. I felt that the water parameters in the lake had returned to normal. And there's water dew and rain dew around 30 millimetres through next week from Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday with lower temperatures. All of these things, in my mind, added up to I could start feeding again, which was Friday, 2 days ago. I've still been doing water parameter tests. There's been no change. Everything is looking perfect. In fact, pH is back at 7, which is what I expect it to be. And ammonia levels are off the bottom, 0.05. No nitrate in there either. So as far as I'm concerned, the water's back to normal, the water's healthy, fish can feed, and they are feeding, so I'm feeding them. That's my rationale. Again, if I'm doing it wrong, tell me. Always open to those constructive criticisms and ways I can do things better. You know, just doing my best here, and one-man band. I ain't got a load of people behind me here. I'm just doing it on my Jack Jones. So yeah, that's the way it goes. All right, guys, bit of a waffle, but I'll catch you later. Bye-bye. Okay, so this is all I've got coming into the top lake at the moment. So I know some people will say, well, that's more than we've got, but you know, it's better than nothing. Over the course of 24 hours, that's still a considerable amount of water going into the lake, which is good, but it ain't what we're used to. It's used to flowing pretty hard. What I have done here is I've because I know this lake, and it's got this very shallow top end, so I'll come around and show you. This is that area that I cleared of all the trees last year. Well, I've left this a bit low now. It was a gamble. But this lake hasn't got a lot of fish in at the moment. It's got a small amount of fish. It's got about 50 C2s in their C3 year, and about 100 C2s in their second summer. So it's an acre and a half, and it's got some depth to it, about 9 foot. So not got a lot of water in there, a lot of fish in there. So I've left it a little bit fallow. What I'm hoping to do is get in here, clear all this, and make this about another 2 foot deeper, and then this will add a fair amount of water to the top. So once I've got this down at the bypass channel done in the next few days, then this is another job that I'm going to do, hopefully before it starts raining, but I probably won't do, and it'll get wet and shitty. But if I can clear this, as you can see, it's a fair sized area, probably, you know, adding nearly half an acre, at least quarter of an acre to this pond, which again just gives me greater capacity to grow a few more fish. So that's going to be the next job. It's dry enough now. I've been down there, definitely get the big machine in there and get most of that out. All right, guys, so another busy one today. Started off bloody rubbish, because everywhere I went didn't have the wire that I needed, but finally got it sorted, and I'm back in the game. So I'm just going to show you how I'm supporting this, because I ballsed up the first little section, which is giving me the right ump, to be honest. I feel like pulling it all out and starting again on that end, but it's going to do the job. It just doesn't, it's just not how I should have done it. I should have done it like this, but I'm going to show you now. So if anyone's using Nicospan, you know, even when you've got scaffold poles pushed in as far as I did, you know, I thought with just a relatively small amount of weight behind it, it wouldn't blow out, but it did on the section that I didn't put as many supporting wires, which you have to do on each one. So I'll show you what I'm doing now and how it's done. And if you're going to be doing this needs to be done. It's a bit time consuming, bit of a baller, but it's going to make it a lot better. Okay, so there you go. High tensile steel. What I've done is I've got a 2 metre pole jammed and rammed straight down in here. And then it's a single strand, but it's 2.7 millimetre thick high tensile steel. So it ain't going to go anywhere. And then basically what I've used is I use these, as you can see on here, to wind it up. That just winds it up and then gives it that tension. So basically, once I backfill against there, they can't go anywhere. So I'm doing 3 to 1, and I'm going to push these all the way along, fill as I go, and then hopefully that'll do the trick. It should look really neat then. It's just this first section that I'm going to have to do something about because it's going to twist my melon. Okay, so I've just finished getting all of the tensioned wires in and backfilling them, so they're all now fixed. As you can see, I'm doing it to every pole now, after the blowout on the first section. These are obviously the toughest, the worst sections, when you're going to have the most amount of earth, a good few tons against them, so super important on those areas. But it's all in now. I'm just going to go and get the dump around. I found some area there. I was going to dig some more of the stream out, but I certainly don't want to undermine these poles that are in here by digging that out anymore. Started digging out down there, but I'm not happy with the big machine on this. I just want to get it done quickly now and get the machine off of it, get this all backfilled. And that's the one section done. Second section up here, then hopefully I can get done. I'm going to attack that from the other side, and I've actually got a section of bank I can take out there. So hopefully I can get onto that and finish that tomorrow is the plan, and then we'll be done, which would be great because this will just make this so much better and a much safer and wider safer area for us. Now, as most of you know that have been following us for a while now, this was a major cock up last winter over here, and it flooded the winter before and the winter before that. So I'll be really happy when I've got this done. There's that tree. Yeah, that's one. It's going to be one. I'm going to need 2 tree trunks in here. All right, I'll get them. I'll get that one before I finish. Yeah, it'd be just bloody marvellous to get this finished and done and dusted, and then I can just move on to other jobs. You know, this one's been hanging over me all summer, waiting for the bloody machine to get fixed. So I wish I had my little 6-tonner. That would actually be a better one for doing this job, but it is what it is. I'll see if the big girl gets the job done and then get home later on this evening. All right, catch you, bye-bye. All right, that was a massive day. As you can see, it's now a fully fledged big old barrier. Remember, this was only just big enough to get a tractor through. Now it's double the width. I've got to finish this. I've just got to rake it through. With a big machine, it's touch and go when you're using a 16-tonner to try and backfill. But it's with all the security of putting the those high tensile steel straps on all the way along, it's held it brilliantly, to be honest. And again, I can highly recommend this stuff. If you need to do some work on your... I mean, look at it, it hasn't budged. It hasn't budged. Yeah, I'm super happy with that. I think I've made the property better for doing it. And obviously it will hopefully stop all the flooding. It's a darn sight higher and more secure now than it's ever been. So hopefully we've eliminated all those problems. So I've put some topsoil on here now. Hopefully it'll grass up as well, and it'll look quite aesthetically nice. I'll get a rake in here tomorrow just to tidy it up a little bit. But yeah, there we go. First one's done. Now I've just got to go and do that one tomorrow up there. Look, do that one. And then we're all good. I'm absolutely Fukushimaed. So yeah, all tickety-boo. I might grass seed this as well in tomorrow or day after. I'll get Sal to get some grass seed, and then I know it's just going to grass over. Obviously, all that grass seed and all of the roots of the grass just hold all this topsoil together and just doubly secures it all. So, yeah, super happy. It's worked a treat, and problem's over. Fingers crossed. Catch you later, guys. Bye-bye. Thought I'd just show you from this riverside perspective now it's all backfilled. But as you can see, it has little bulges between. You could even increase the centres of the poles, obviously, but that's pretty darn good, eh? You know, pretty happy with that. And I think the problem is solved. So, yeah, pretty happy with that. Boom. Hi guys, yeah, you couldn't script it, could you? It's been the driest summer that we've ever known since we've been in France. And I get my machine fixed Friday. Tuesday it's pouring down. You just, what the hell? I mean, we need the rain, something rotten, but it's just so sod's law, isn't it? You know. So I've been getting wet this morning. I can't get the machine along here. This last bit is quite a narrow section, and the reason it's bad is it was already sinking when I was running the big machine along here. So I just don't want to risk running it and causing any more potential major problems here. So I'm having to put the posts in by hand with a sledge, because the post bash has gone back to Billy Berridge. Yeah, it's been all action stations with the big hammer this morning, and I'm rooted. But it's pretty good. I'm not far off. I've probably got 4 or 5 more posts to put in, and then this can be backfilled. I'm going to backfill it slightly differently to how I was running the machine up and down the other bit, because that was pretty stable. This one I'm actually going to bring, when it finally stops raining, I'm actually going to bring the earth in on the dumper truck, dump it in, and then just come up and work along from this way, filling and rolling it in. So hopefully that way we won't get any more sinkage on the actual major passageway through here, the pathway between the river and the lake. I want it to hold up. I mean, the 16 tonner obviously is an excessive machine. If I had my 6 tonner going, it's what I'd use, and it would be perfect for the job. But the big girl's just too big, and in reality, so I'll be able to get most of it from back here, which is pretty stable and high. And then the rest, maybe I might have to get a whacker in and do a bit of shoveling and get a whacker plate in to whacker the rest down. But I was hoping to be able to get this finished today, and if it wasn't pouring down with rain, I would do. But I think we've got rain hopefully today, tomorrow and Thursday. So maybe the weekend I'll be able to get back on it. On other news, went down to the little stock pond below the dam at Fensmere this morning, and the fish were all up on the surface taking air. So obviously a sign that something wasn't quite right there. Dropped the DO2 sensor in. We'd had a little bit of an oxygen crash overnight in that small pond. It was down to 4.6 milligrams per litre, which is still okay. But those fish, they weren't super happy. So I've opened up the siphon pipe from the main lake, which was sitting at about 7.8 this morning. So hopefully that'll sort that problem out. Because it's a small bit of water and it had quite a big algal bloom on, if the algae, with the drop in pressure, if the algae had a bit of a problem in there, then obviously it's a greater effect than that bigger body of water. And it's got 25 fish in there in a small body of water. So, you know, their oxygen demand for the small amount of water and DO2 within, dissolved oxygen within that water, they use it up pretty quickly. So anyway, got on top of that first thing this morning. We came up here and tested everything up here, and a little bit lower than I'm used to. But there's still no problems. It was all between 7 and 8.4, so everything was hunky-dory, thankfully. Keep my fingers crossed. There's been a few storms coming through this morning with lightning and what have you, but I'll keep you posted anyway. All right, bit of a witter again, but yeah, just keep me up to speed what's going on, and I'll try and get this vid out, finishing this little bit for Wednesday, so you'll get a see of what we've been up to up here. And then I'm still yet to do the story of Fensmere. I'll get round to it one of these weekends. All right, catch you, bye-bye. Okay, so dodging the rain, I've managed to get all these done. So again, I'll just show you through that sort of setup and scenario of them. They're just twisted. I've got them set up on each and every single one. After that blowout, I've realised that this was the way to do it. Really makes them solid. They ain't ever going to go anywhere, as you can see. So they're all ready to rock and roll now. So I shall try and get, I think tomorrow's going to be raining again. So if I can get the machines round here, I'm going to bring it in from this end this time and bring the dumper in. Because this big tree here will be going, it's going to be taken down this autumn. That's actually not my land, but that's where it kept, all of those trees kept coming across here and flooding the lake, because they were stopping the water flow through the stream. So Sally and I got onto the mayor of our local, one of the local towns here, who knew the owner, and the owner got someone in to start getting rid of the trees. So that one definitely will be going, which is great, because it's a big one for the old cormorants to sit on, so they won't have anywhere to roost. And then this section of bank here is what I'm actually going to use to fill in here. I'll just dig that out, make a little bit wider there, won't do any harm at all, and means I don't have to import and bring the stuff in with the dumper. So yeah, rain stopped. Look at all these fish feeding out here. Look, let's have a look. Oh, they're going absolutely garrety out there, all through this middle section actually. Loving life. Good on them. Right, well let's. I'm going to have a walk round, look at the rest of the lakes again where I fed this morning, and then probably bugger off home. Marvellous. All right, so I'm up the farm. As I said, I'm going to do a little bit of test fishing, and I've had a load today. But I just thought I'd show you this one. It's an absolute cracker. 10.6 kilos. A C4. Beautiful fish. Behave. A beautiful fish that will be going out this year. Probably be around 12 kilos. So look at that, an absolute peach. An absolute Bobby Dazzler. Beautiful condition, post-spawning. So there's a lot of weight to come on this. Powerful frame, big shoulders. Real classic, beautiful looking carp. Very happy with that. Most of the other fish I've had today have been C3s and around the sort of 6 to 7 kilo range. But really happy to see this one. Beautiful condition, beautiful fish. Yeah, what I'll be going out this winter, fan-bloody-tastic. All right, excuse the wind noise, but I've still been doing a little bit of thinning. So as you can see, some lovely C2s here and a load more tench. So I'm going to put the C2s up into the top lake and get rid of these tench into the tank. All right, some beautiful little C2s. Early C2s. These fish, I reckon, will end up about 3 to 4 pound by the end of this this growth season this summer. Look at them, aren't they? Absolutely beautiful. All right, one common, 3 beautiful mirrors. Right, let's get them in the top lake.